Good morning, everybody. What's up? What's up? All right, let's get this party started. Oh, dang. I forgot to bring over a book to talk about, but what's over there that I didn't talk about last week? Last week I did I Wish My Dad, All That's Good, and How to Worship a King. This week, let's talk about Psychology of Money, because I know it's up there. Psychology of Money is a very great book that I read during Jenny and I. It was right after I think we paid off the debt, and I read Psychology of Money. And basically, it's a book where the author is letting you know, yo, it's just money. And how you deal with it says more about you than it does the money itself. And so while he does not give any, it's not a book to read to give you practical steps on how to do that. I do have a free course. If you are looking for better money habits, I do have a free course for free. Let me know if you want it. It is free. I cannot say that enough. It is a free course that will take you from nothing to investing for yourself, investing for your children. That's a practical process. Psychology of Money just gives you a different way to look at your money. It is not something to be afraid of. It is not something to be anxious about or be apprehensive about. But he does say that we don't talk enough about it with our friends, with our families, with each other. And so the entirety of the book is pointing you to, hey, it's just money. What works best for you and how you want to approach your money. And that, I think, is priceless, which is why it's up there. So Psychology of Money, really great book. If you're up there, if you're looking at the books and you're like, what are these money books doing up here? They're up there because Jesus cares about every part of our lives, every single part of our lives. And I think one thing that Christians probably talk little about, two things, is probably sex and money, that we just kind of like ignore, and we're like, Jesus is gonna do it, but it's like, well, let's actually have a conversation. So again, Psychology of Money, very great book to help you warm up to the idea that it is just money, and how can I do what I need to do to make sure I can be in the best position with that. Now again, if you're looking for something practical, your boy has a whole course that will take you literally from nothing to investing, what investing is, how to do it, like literally walking you through step by step how to buy a stock straight up. So if you want the course, that's not on the bookshelf, but I can hook you up. So there's that. Free books over there. Okay. Allie, I don't know if you guys know this, two things about Allie. Number one, she runs our schedule for who is setting up for Sunday morning. So the music, the computer, the live stream that is going right now, the text message that you get with the link. Allie did all of that this morning. And so, in addition to that, she sends out every 6 or 7 weeks or so a schedule to myself and Ben, and we just say yes, ma'am. She don't ask if we're gonna be out of town. We be like, nah, I'm gonna just move my whole life around. I'm gonna show up. I'm gonna be there. Allie said that's what I got to do, so I'm gonna do it. So Allie runs our setup team. I say all that to say, Allie runs our setup team. Second thing is, Allie is with child and will soon be with child outside of her body. So we need someone, a couple people, to step into the setup roles. You don't have to handle schedule right now or anything like that, but we do need help in getting everything ready for service. I think it's a 10-minute process, if that. Very quick, very easy. I have like printed instructions to walk you through it. And so if you are like, oh, I think I could do that, seems pretty simple. It is very simple. Eric actually came in, and in his own words, if he could do it, anybody could do it. Eric just picked up the instructions and just did it one Sunday, or it was like a Friday night or something. He walked through the whole process and just did it. And he was like, this was really intuitive, really easy, very simple. So if that is you, please, 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 if you can be here, one, let me know. Come talk to me, and we'll give you the details from there. But we do need people to fill these spots because, again, I don't know if y'all know, but I will no longer be pastoring Oasis come September of next year. And that is 2 spots that we do need to have filled on Sunday morning for setup. So I would love to have all of those things taken care of well before Jenny and I get ready to leave. And so the more people that we have to put hands in different spaces, the better. So if you are interested in setting up the music, the computer, and all this stuff, or learning, please let me know or talk to Allie, and we will get you in the rotation and get you hooked up. So that is that for that. Any questions about that? Cool. Okay, Thanksgiving dinner. If you have not filled out the form, you can scan the QR code right now, or I will probably send out the link again. I think of the 150 people who get the text message, 12 people responded. And 2 of those people were me and Jenny. So, and Valerie twice because she changed her answer. So, really,
I was set and determined on being
hey,
here.
which is fine. That's
I
fine.
was set and determined on being here in town and like, let's go to your value.
That is fine, 100%.
I really want to tell you.
From this position, it is very hard to try to put things together when I don't have any feedback at all. And so it is one thing to say, no, I'm not going to be there. It is a completely different thing to not respond at all. And so I want to do what is best, but I at least need the feedback to know what the deal is. Because I've been caught with my pants down by canceling events because there was no feedback, and then people all of a sudden are like, oh, I was gonna be there. And I'm like, well, you didn't say that you were going to be there or not be there. So it is very much appreciated when we do send things out to bring in information. We are trying to make the best decisions One, for everybody, but then for everybody else's time and effort. For everybody who has to put in um, into making food or whatever the case may be. Um, it is much appreciated. Even if your answer is no, you will not be here. I at least know what the deal is with that. So, by all means, please, please, please. If you have filled it out, please don't worry about filling it out again because your answers are there. Um, but please, please, please fill that out. Those of you on YouTube, we'll send another text out probably tomorrow to get more info from the people. We good there? That makes sense? Cool, cool, cool. Lastly, thank you to all of those who give. Because of you, we can do things like buy a turkey and a ham for those who will be here for Thanksgiving dinner. So if you would like to give, these are the ways to give. Venmo, the big brown box in the front if you do have cash or checks in person, and then the Church Center app will allow you to essentially set it and forget it. You can do weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, whatever you want. Debit card, bank account, Apple Pay. There's a lot of stuff in the Church Center app. So pick your poison. But again, thank you to all of those who do give. We greatly appreciate it. Because of that, we have a place to worship on Sunday mornings, and we can do crazy stuff like buy books so everybody can just have them for free, and host dinners. Dang, the kid fall into the door? I'm like, she's not bleeding, so looks like we're fine. Okay. If you are not receiving text messages from Oasis, please text T to 575-222-8985, and you will get the poll tomorrow. If you are not receiving text messages, please text T. If you would like to receive, please text T. Any questions about any of those things before I hand it over? All right. Well, without further ado, Cheryl, you're up. Lego.
We're doing Proverbs 26 this week. So I'll read it first and then we'll get into it. Like snow in the summer or rain in harvest, so honor is not fitting for a fool. Like a sparrow in its flitting, like a swallow in its flying, a curse that is causeless does not alight. A whip for a horse, a bridle for a donkey, a rod for the back of fools. Answer not a fool according to his folly, lest you be like him yourself. Answer a fool according to his folly, lest he be wise in his own eyes. Whoever sends a message by the hand of a fool cuts off his own feet and drinks violence. Like a lame man's legs, which hang useless, is a proverb in the mouth of fools. Like one who binds the stone in the sling is one who gives honor to a fool. Like a thorn that goes up into the hand of a drunkard is a proverb in the mouth of fools. Like an archer who wounds everyone is one who hires a passing fool or drunkard. Like a dog that returns to its vomit is a fool who repeats his folly. Do you see a man who is wise in his own eyes? There is more hope for a fool than for him. The sluggard said, "There's a lion in the road, there's a lion in the streets." As the door turns on its hinges, so does a sluggard on his bed. The sluggard buries his hand in the dish, it wears him out to bring it back to his mouth. The sluggard is wiser in his own eyes than 7 men who can answer sensibly. Whoever meddles in a quarrel not his own is like one who takes a passing dog by the ears. Like a madman who throws firebrands, arrows, and death is the man who deceives his neighbor and says, "I'm only joking." For lack of wood, the fire goes out, and where there is no whisper, quarreling ceases. As charcoal to hot embers and wood to fire, so is a quarrelsome man for kindling strife. The words of a whisperer are like delicious morsels. They go down into the inner parts of the body. Like the glaze covering the earthen vessel are fervent lips with an evil heart. Whoever hates disguises himself with his lips and harbors deceit in his heart. When he speaks graciously, believe him not, for there are 7 abominations in his heart. Though hatred be covered with deception, his wickedness will be exposed in the assembly. Whoever digs a pit will fall into it, and the stone will come back on him who starts it rolling. A lying tongue hates its victims, and a flattering mouth works ruin. So there's a lot there, but as you can see, the first part is a lot about the fool. The theme, though, is really about the tongue and behavior, how you speak and how you behave. But there are some sub-themes, the fool, the lazy, the gossip, and the liar. So those are the kind of like the 4 sub-things that are happening throughout this. So since it comes up in here, I wanted to talk about what honor meant. Honor is a quality or virtue associated with respect, dignity, and esteem, because it talks about not giving a fool honor. So we don't want to give him respect, dignity, or esteem. Maybe not dignity, but respect or esteem. And the word proverb is like a gem or a popular wisdom, a short, pithy statement that encapsulates a keen observation about nature or human nature and is memorable and oft repeated. Because it talks about, don't listen to a fool that gives a proverb, right? There are 2 in 26 that are literally verbatim to other proverbs. Proverbs 26:15, which is, the sluggard buries his hand in the dish and it wears him out to bring it back to his mouth, is literally verbatim to 1924. 26:22, which is, the words of a whisperer are like delicious morsels that go down into the inner parts of the body, is again a verbatim of 18:8. So obviously those are important because they're literally verbatim. There's not even any change in them. They're verbatim. But I wanted to highlight verses 4 and 5 because they seem opposite. Verses 4 and 5, answer not a fool according to his folly, lest you be like him yourself. Answer a fool according to his folly, lest you be wise in his own eyes. So those sound like they're contradictory. Why are they contradictory? Because it's part of using wisdom. Do you answer a fool or do you not answer the fool? It depends on the situation. You need to have wisdom to know in which situation you answer him and which not. Because sometimes you don't want him to go away thinking he's right. Yeah. And other times you're just bringing yourself down to try to get involved with it. Yeah. So this situation is about having wisdom to know when to speak and when not to speak. That was, there's a lot, that's pretty much all of Proverbs. Proverbs is about having the wisdom of using what you need to use, using which proverb for what in whatever given situation. So it's being wise in applying it to the personal situation that you're in. Verse 8 is about binding a stone. Like one who binds the stone in the sling is one who gives honor to a fool. That one might be confusing for some of us because we don't often use slings. But think about David and his little slingshot. He didn't bind the stone. He didn't tie the stone into the slingshot because, well, that's just not very smart. It's not going to go anywhere if you do that. So it's saying, well, that's not smart. So it's also not smart to honor a fool. You don't want to listen to what a fool is saying because it's just going to lead you down a bad road, because it's just like, it's not smart. It's like binding the stone. Just don't do it. 10 is about an archer who wounds everyone is like the one who hires a passing fool or drunkard. Well, this one might not make very much sense. So, like an archer who wounds everyone. Basically, it's saying the archer is just going to like shoot at everyone. Who's going to do that? I mean, I'm just going to shoot you because I don't know, I feel like it. I just feel like I'm going to shoot you because I just feel like it. So in this case, it's talking about someone that hires a fool or, how is that worded, or a drunkard. If you look, it actually says, it can also say hires a fool or passerby. What this is talking about is hiring somebody outside the community, like a vagrant. Because especially back in times when the Bible was written, community was, it's not like it is today.
Right.
Yes, we have our little community here,
Right.
but it was, the town was a community. Everybody knew everybody. Everybody knew what everybody was doing. Everybody went to the same assembly. Everybody went to the same church, if you will. So they're saying, don't hire someone that we don't know. We don't know anything about them. So they don't have any stake in the community, which means they could do bad without any thought about it. So don't hire someone that has no stake in your community, that has no stake in your business. You need to make sure that they are not just passing through. You know, they don't care. That's the point here. Don't hire someone that doesn't care.
Yeah.
And if they don't have a stake in the community, they're not going to care. 17 was interesting. This one is about taking a dog by the ear. 17 is whoever meddles in a quarrel, not his own, is like taking a passing dog by the ears. And I was like, taking a dog by the ear? Well, that, you know, but this is not about taking your dog by the ear. This is about taking a passing dog by the ear. So you see a dog and you're like, I'm just going to grab his ear. Now, how do you think he's going to react?
Yeah.
Not real well. Likely you're going to end up with a bite or two. So the point here is, well, don't do that. Don't involve yourself in somebody else's problems.
Yeesh.
They're not your problems. What it's saying is this person loves drama so much that they got to get involved in somebody else's drama. And that's like getting a bite. It's not going to go well.
Yeah.
Because number one, they're causing more drama because they're getting involved in somebody else's drama.
Yeah.
They are, and you have to, number one, pay attention. Hey, you don't belong in this. Get out. But it's also telling you not to be that person.
Yeah.
Don't get involved in other people's stuff if you don't belong. Because you don't want to get bit.
That's good.
22 is the one of the ones that is a verbatim, and it talks about gossip going down into the inner parts of the body. And what it means by that is, think about the inner parts of the body, your heart. It's going down into who you are. Someone gossiping about you hurts, and it hurts deep. So being that gossip, you're just hurting people by talking about them. It calls it whisperer, but that's what a gossip is.
Yeah.
They're just whispering to other people about whatever, whoever. They just are there to talk to, and they always cause strife. Whoa. They always cause strife. Wherever they go, whoever they talk about, they hurt. Because think about it, when you talk about someone, what if it gets back to them?
Right.
Do you want to be that person that talked about someone and hurt them? Is that who you want to be? It's saying don't be that person.
Yeah.
Because when you gossip about someone, you hurt them. And you need to think about it. Is that who we want to be? Do we want to hurt people? We don't. So we need to pay attention to who we're talking about and what we're saying, because it can easily, we can be sharing something, but it can easily slide into gossip.
Yeah.
And it's so important for us to pay attention to that. It talks about gossip more than once here. But, yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
I really appreciate that it says that the words of a whisperer are like delicious morsels, and they go down into the inner parts of the body, because it does not discount like gossip feeling good.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
But the issue is that as we take in gossip, so we may not be the person who may be saying it, but if we are the person that is taking it in, now we are taking the lies or the whatever of somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So Vic says something to me about you that's not true, but now I'm creating an entire situation around you that may not even be true, that may not be real, because now what he has said has now gone into my innermost being. And so now I can't even look at you with grace and love and all
because you're only thinking about what you heard.
Because I'm taking these delicious morsels that are not actually anything, it's actually poison.
Yep.
And so I can't, even on the side of just the person taking it in, you are now going to go and treat other people differently than if you had said, no thank you, I don't need that. I want to treat them with dignity and honor and all of these things. I just think that's really cool.
Yeah, that is true. But the other thing is often when you take in that gossip, it makes you want to share it,
Mm-hmm.
and then that becomes a temptation.
Well,
So, yes.
that kind of pulls it into where it says that go down into the inner parts of the body. And if you look up the 990 in the back, it's actually liking it to pregnancy. So it's like you then birth. You birth that. You become that. So you are what you eat type of situation. You know, it's like you eat, all you eat is sugar, you're going to be sick, right? But it says that you take it to the innermost parts of your body, and the definition is significantly linked to what it's like to be pregnant.
Yeah,
The
womb,
definition is.
body,
So
belly.
then you not only do you inner parts of your body, you actually conceive it, and then you birth that nature.
Yes.
So it not only does it taste good to gossip, but then you also then become that in nature.
Yes.
You birthed it.
Exactly.
Created that in your body.
You become a gossip.
And then you can only breathe that going out.
And that's he made a really good point that what you hear affects how you see that person.
Mm-hmm.
So if you hear something about them that's not good, and it might not be true because it's gossip, but it still affects how you look at that person.
Yeah.
And you have to stop when someone's going to talk about someone. You need to say, hey, no, I'm not participating in this. And that is a hard thing to do. That is so hard, because then you look like the bad guy. Well, I don't want to, I don't want to hear that. But you need to do that because it affects how you see that person.
Yeah.
It changes how you see that person.
Yeah.
That is a very big potential, and you don't want that to be, because you want to see that person for who they really are, not for what the gossip says they are.
Right.
Good point. 23 is like glaze covering an earthen vessel are fervent lips with an evil heart. It says glaze, but it actually in the Hebrew is silver dross. So basically what that means is it looks pretty. It looks like silver, but it's not silver. It's the dross. It's the junk that comes off silver when you're purifying silver. That's what dross is. When you're purifying some kind of metal, silver, gold, you get this dross. And it looks like the stuff, but it's actually not. So what's covering this vessel, this glaze, is actually silver dross. It looks pretty, looks beautiful, but it's not. And so it's fake. And so what this is saying is fervent lips. Fervent lips, that simply means that they're talking pretty. They are talking all about, they're talking in kindness, they're talking in, they're saying all the right things, but their heart is evil. So what they're saying actually has an intent that is not good for you, even if it sounds right. And it reminds me of, it's a silly thing, but and I think I've said it before. It reminds me of that movie Frozen. The guy, what's his name? Hans. It reminds me of Hans. He looks the part. He sounds the part. But he's the bad guy.
Yeah.
He's the bad guy. He's out to get, but he looks like a prince. He sounds like a prince. He says all the right things. But when it comes down to it, he's the bad guy.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what this is. Looks the part, sounds the part, but the bad guy.
Yeah.
Evil heart. The point I really wanted to focus on this week was actually verses 24 through 28. These verses are about fake people who pretend to be good and kind. So actually 23 kind of fits in with it, honestly. But they're out to get you. They're trying to hurt you, trying to trap you. But the point also is made here that they're going to be found out. They can't pretend to everyone around them, and that will prove to be their undoing. So 23 is part of it, but whoever hates disguises himself with his lips and harbors deceit in his heart. When he speaks graciously, believe him not, for there are 7 abominations in his heart. Though his hatred be covered with deception, his wickedness will be exposed in the assembly. Whoever digs a pit will fall into it, and the stone will come back on him who starts it rolling. A lying tongue hates its victims, and a flattering mouth works ruin. A pit. It's just what it sounds like. It's a pit. But you could look at it as a trap, destruction, deceit. It's anything that someone is out that sets you up for failing, that puts you in a place where something bad is going to happen to you. So it may not be a literal pit, but yet it is. The stone will come rolling back. That made me laugh because it made me think actually of like Jesus' tomb, the big stone that was rolled away. It made me think of that big stone. They're rolling that big old stone. They're going to try to roll you right over with it. I'm going to roll it. Look at this big stone. They're going to be flattened after this. But then it starts rolling back at them. Can you imagine? They're running from the stone that they started rolling in their first place. But that's what it says. They're going to try to roll you over, but uh-oh. Here it comes. And that same thing is kind of about his wickedness will be exposed in the assembly. Now, an assembly was often basically like what we call a congregation today. It was often a religious assembly, a religious ceremony, it was for religious purposes. So they come to church. They do all the right things. They say all the right things. But eventually, somebody is going to notice what they say and what they do are different. And that's important to be aware of, that, yeah, you run into people. They're not good. You know they're not good. And you feel frustrated because everyone seems to think this person is great, but you're the one that sees that they're not. But what this is saying is they're going to be found out. At some point, their problems, their issues, their lies, their deception will come to light. And you may be the person that brings it to light, because you may be the person that sees it. But God is saying that it will come to light. That's the one I forgot to look up. There are 7 abominations in his heart. So he speaks kindness, he speaks nice, he says all the right things. But what it means by 7 abominations is that there's so many bad things in his heart. There's just all the bad stuff. 7 means that there are a lot. That's what that translates into. There are a lot of bad things in his heart. But he speaks nice. He says the right stuff. This chapter, on the whole, was really about how you speak, how you behave. But paying attention to not just how you speak and how you behave, but about how those around you speak and how they behave and how that affects you. And that's important to use wisdom to be aware of how to react when you're dealing with someone that is a fool, that is someone who sounds right but is awful, you know. So how does all this come back to Jesus? That's a great question. Proverbs in general, for me, felt like it comes back to Jesus. There's a lot of these Proverbs, many of the themes that you find throughout the entire book of Proverbs, but specifically some of the stuff in this chapter, you find in the New Testament. You find Jesus talking about them. He's talking about them because they're important. He's talking about them because this is how you learn to be a good Christian. This is how you learn to follow him properly, to become Christ-like. So these Proverbs, they teach you how to live a good life, a godly life, the life that we're supposed to live. So when you follow Jesus, you can look at these Proverbs and they will help you do what you're supposed to and behave the way you're supposed to as a Christian. Because you have to remember, when people look at us, we're supposed to show Jesus in everyday life, everything we do. They should be able to look through us and see Jesus, because we're supposed to share who he is. I mean, Matthew says, go out into all the nations. Basically share who Jesus is. We have to share that good word, that gospel. It's the good news. Yeah. When we don't share it with someone, we're condemning them to never knowing the good news. We can only hope that maybe someone else shares it, but what if they don't? What if it's you and you're the only person that can share that good news? You are condemning them to a life of misery and sadness, because life is hard. Yeah. And without Jesus, I can't even imagine how hard it is. It has no purpose. Jesus is what gives us purpose. Yeah. Practicality. Every proverb has practicality because it was given to us to teach us how to live in wisdom. Now, obviously, wisdom begins with the fear of the Lord. And that this particular proverb doesn't state that, but we know that. That's where wisdom starts. When you start with the fear of the Lord, the rest will follow. You will want to study God's word, the Proverbs, so that you know what you're doing. But Proverbs, it really works from the premise that if you're reading them, that you have already begun to learn wisdom because you want to know more. So they're working from the premise that you want to grow in wisdom as you spend time reading them. Not just reading them, you got to apply them. That's the biggest issue, applying them to your life. The root is to pay attention to whom you allow in your life and whom you allow to hold sway over you. And that's where the fool comes in. The fool can often hold sway over what you do, and you have to pay attention to who you're allowing to give you advice.
Right.
Who are you allowing to speak into your life when you talk to them about various issues you're having or whatever. You need to make sure that who you are bringing into your life is not a fool. The encouragement that I think I found in this is that the people, no matter how bad they behave, no matter what they do, it's always going to come to light. God is always going to show who they really are if we just look. There's a Southern saying, my sister uses it quite often, it all comes out in the wash. And that to me is what this kind of about, it will come to light. You're going to see it. They're in the assembly. You're going to see it. It all comes out in the wash. How you behave all comes out in the wash.
It's like that rolling stone.
Exactly. Yeah, roll the stone is.
Eventually you see it.
Yeah.
It's going to hit you.
Exactly.
You know, it's kind of like.
Yeah. Do you really want to start that stone rolling? So I was looking up actually some of the points about Proverbs in general, and they're not usually like universal. Like we saw those two that seem to not go together. They're not universal. Each one doesn't apply to every single situation.
Right.
You've got to pay attention to that. They're geared toward daily life, just living your day in and out. You also have to remember that some undergo some changes in the New Testament, like the ones about wealth and stuff. It doesn't mean that if you live right, you're going to be rich. It doesn't mean that. Maybe you'll be rich in that you know God, but not rich in actual cash. And remember, as our behavior changes, so does our character. Yeah. As we know Jesus, we transform into becoming Christ-like. But we have to spend time in His Word. We've got to learn who He is. Yeah. And then spending time with these Proverbs, learning how to behave and how not to behave, how to speak and how not to speak. The point in here about, there's several points if you look about tongues, answer, mouth, lips, tongue, speak, words. There's a lot in this particular chapter about how you communicate. And it matters. How you speak matters. How others speak matter. Yeah. And it's important to pay attention to those details. One of them was actually about, a fool. Think about it. A fool is going to be irresponsible. They're going to be, they're not using smarts. And like when they speak, it says here in several of them, it talks about when a proverb comes out of their mouth, you're not supposed to listen to it because they're a fool. They have no idea what it means. They're just spouting it. It's much like those that deceive. They're just opening their mouth to say something that sounds smart, but they don't actually know the meaning behind it. So it's important not to listen to that person. So ultimately for me, this chapter was, it was quite a powerful chapter. There was a lot of Hebrew wordplay in it where words sound like the other, trying to make you understand how important it is. I mean, we can't see some of it in English because it just doesn't work that way. Right. Because Hebrew words, they might have different letters, but they sounded the same. Or, I mean, we have stuff like that in English, but sometimes you forget when you're studying another language that English does much of the same. So, to me, this chapter was just a really powerful chapter about learning, pay attention to the fool, to the lazy, to the gossip, to the liar. I mean, it talks about the sluggard. I didn't really dig into that very much, but the sluggard, it talks about being wiser in his own eyes than 7 men who can answer sensibly. Well, that's pretty clear. He thinks he's all that, and there are 7 people who are smarter than him, which means a lot, and he still thinks he's too smart for words. It's kind of like the know-it-all kind of situation. I got it. I know it all. I'm good. So it's important to, again, going back to the tongue and the behavior. It all goes back to how you speak and your behavior. All goes back to that. That's really all I have. Yes, sir.
I do also want to point out, I think a lot of times when we get into a chapter like this, where it's a lot about the fool and who he is and how he operates and all that stuff, I think we tend to forget that we are also the fool a lot of the time. And so it is so easy for us to read this and be like, oh, this is what I'm looking out for from other people. And we never like take 10 seconds to go, am I the fool in this situation? And I think a lot of times, for me specifically, that has helped me a ton in how I approach other people. A lot of times it keeps my mouth shut because I don't have all the facts, I don't have all of the information. And so taking 2 steps back real quick just to be like, yo, am I the fool here? Like, am I the one that, like, as I walk into the room, people go, oh, here comes Rafer again, and being aware of that. Because one, it will save you a lot of heartache, but two, it legitimately keeps you in a state of humility to learn from whoever may be in the room. So like you just said, whatever verse that was, verse 16, where he thinks he's the fool, thinks he's the wisest one in the room, but there are so many other people that are actually smarter than him. If I never take the time to actually listen to what people are saying, or how they're saying, or at least to try to get something from what somebody is saying, then I am the fool. So even if I am in, conversation with Trey in Brooklyn, not that they're going to teach me any and everything about the world, but I do learn something from their perspective that I can use as a parent. And so if I'm standing here going, no, because, but I never actually take in where they are, then I'm the fool in the situation as the 36-year-old parent talking to the 6-year-old kid. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So, yeah, being aware of where my foolish ways actually stand.
Well, it's not even just being the fool, being aware, are you the gossip?
Right.
Are you the sluggard, the lazy? Is that you? And you would hope that you're not the liar, but it is possible for us to be any one of those four.
Right.
And to jump off what he said, it is important for us to pay attention to ourselves so that we are not the fool. We are not the gossip. We are not the lazy. We are not the liar. So, and it's not just about avoiding those people, but about not being those people.
Yeah.
And that's a critical issue, I think, for us as Christians to remember. And yeah, it is easy. And sometimes you aren't paying enough attention and you find yourself being the fool, being lazy, And you're like, whoa, back up. I ain't supposed to be these people. And so then, how do you get out of that situation? Well, you use wisdom to get out of the situation, and you use prayer. You speak to God about it. Everything always comes back to God. God will take you out of a situation that you caused by your own foolish behavior. He's asking you to try not to be that way, but he will still help you even if you are. And that's a critical issue to remember. And I just kind of want to end with talking about Jesus for a minute. It is important, I think, that as we live in our easy American lives, we forget what he actually did, what he actually went through. Yes, Jesus died for me. We sing about it, we think about it. But think about what he actually went through for us.
Yeah.
He suffered so much, even before he went to the cross. I mean, they whipped him to the degree that his flesh was ripped from his bones. I mean, I know that sounds graphic and horrible.
That's what happened.
But it's what happened, and it's something that we need to remember, and that he went and he died on the cross. I mean, he was nailed. Can you imagine? Oh, I can't. Being nailed to the cross. And he did that for us because he loved us even when we were lost in our sin. And I think it's important for us to slow down and remember what he did for us. We don't have to do it on Easter or Christmas, but you just do it every day to remember. And that also helps us remember to reach for him, because he did those things for us to save us from ourselves, to save us from sin, to save us from death. And I think that's kind of important for us to think about on the daily. And I just want to say that if there's anybody out there that doesn't have a relationship with Jesus and you're interested, talk to any one of us. Bring it to us. We will pray with you. We will be there to help you walk the steps if that's what you choose to do. So I guess I just want to end in prayer. I know it's kind of early, but I just want to end in prayer. And Father God, I just thank you so much for the word, for your entire Bible, but for the word that you gave us today. I thank you for clarifying this chapter to the degree that it is, because it's so easy to read the Proverbs and take them just as generalities that don't apply to us. And we just graciously thank you for your kindness and your love in sharing your word with us. And I just lift up these people to you, each and every one, that what was said today, what they learned today, they would go out and apply in their lives, and that they would share who you are. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.